Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting us here today. It's a pleasure and an honor, really, to be here and presenting our project at this venue. And this project is very much a collaboration between the Ice Stupa team in Ladakh and the JNU in India and the Cryosphere and Climate Change group at the University of Aberdeen. Yeah, I would like to thank you, just three people particularly, who contributed most to this project. And this is Sonam, of course, who's the founder of the Ice Stupa project, but also Soheb at JNU and Millie at the University of Aberdeen. Soheb and Millie research is very much what is on stage today. And Soheb just finished his PhD and Millie just finished her MSc by research. So congratulations and thank you to you both. So today presentation, if this can move to the next slide. Can you move manually to the next slide? It doesn't seem to work from here. Yeah, so today's presentation is very much into three parts. First of all, my colleague Shaktimant will give an introduction of what the problem is. We're talking about how climate change is affecting mountain glacier in the wider Ladakh region in India. And then we'll look at solution, because this is what it is all about in this session, is looking at solution. And of course, as a scientist, I will start thinking about very sophisticated, technologically advanced solutions. But perhaps sometimes the solutions could be very simple. And the Ice Stupa is a prime example of something extremely simple, inexpensive, doesn't require any energy, and yet it is making a difference in the short term. Of course, this is not fixing the wider problem, that of mountain glacier retreating and water availability reducing for all the rural communities who live there. And for that, we need, of course, a bigger change that comes from our governments, the policymakers, but perhaps we can all contribute to that. And this leads to the final piece of the presentation, a video by Sonam with his pledge to live simply, which is simply taking the words of Gandhi, live simply so that others may simply live. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matteo. Glaciers around, So glaciers around the globe are excellent indicators of climate change. The changes incurred in them due to the rising temperature is quite visual. For example, the glacier shown here. Apart from being an indicator for climate change, the glaciers, particularly mountain glaciers, serve as an important source of freshwater supply around the globe. And when we talk about glaciers, it is mostly about the polar glaciers and big ice sheets. But mountain glaciers are equally important and, in fact, more sensitive to the changing climate, particularly due to their geographical location and small size. Today, I'm going to present results from the research work we have been doing in Ladakh, which is in Indian part of Himalaya. Several research studies have demonstrated a systematic rise in temperature throughout the high mountain Asia. And Ladakh region is no exception to that. As you can see here in this slide, that the difference in surface temperature is as high as 14 degrees Celsius for some areas over a period of merely 18 years. Now, this rise in temperature has an obvious impact on the glaciers in the region, which are mostly small and therefore are more sensitive to the changing climate. We mapped more than 2,000 glaciers to identify the frontal changes over a period of 42 years. The results suggest that most of these glaciers are retreating at a rate of more than 8 meters per year. Now, this rate might sound nominal to you, but imagine a glacier which is merely 1 or 2 kilometers long, and it experiences an overall retreat of 300 meters over a period of 42 years or so. This trend of change in length of the glaciers are similar to the change in their surface area as well. Out of the more than 2,000 glaciers that we mapped, around 1,900 experienced aerial loss of 20,000 square meters per year. Again, if we put it in perspective, on an average, it is a loss of 0.2 square kilometers for glaciers with size around 2 or 3 square kilometers, which is quite significant. The change in length and area are not a very good representation of overall health of a glacier. A more sophisticated parameter is altitude of the snow line, which is much better indicator of the changes in glacier ice mass. Snow line is basically the boundary between melting zone and accumulation zone on a glacier surface. Since it is more difficult to map the change in snow line altitude on a satellite image, we were able to map it on around 800 glaciers only. Another important point to note here is that contrary to the length or area of a glacier, positive change in snow line altitude means loss of glacier ice mass, and a negative change in snow line altitude means gain in glacier ice mass. We detected an overall mean increase of 2.5 meters in snow line altitude, which is quite substantial. Apart from the Ice Stupa project, we are also working on a very important component of the cryosphere, that is permafrost. There are a handful of studies, research studies in this part of the Himalaya related to permafrost. In a recently published paper, we have estimated around 60% of the overall study area to be detected as continuous or discontinuous permafrost. The role of this cryospheric component in the overall hydrological regime of the region is largely unknown. But rising temperature has definitely put all these cryospheric components under a lot of stress. The Ladakh region is categorized as a cold desert simply because of the small precipitation it receives throughout the year. The communities living here are largely dependent on agriculture for their livelihood. The change in cryosphere due to the unprecedented rise in temperature has posed a risk to the availability of water in the area. The changes are already evident in the valley, and one of the short-term solutions to this is strategic construction of ice stupas. Ice stupas are artificial glaciers and can store water during winter months and then moderate the water supply during spring and summer months.
Glaciers are an exceptionally good indicator of climate change. Simply put, as temperatures rise, glaciers shrink or disappear altogether. Glaciers are essential to the ecosystem of the mountains, and that includes the people who live there, the local rural communities who live there. In order to slow down this crisis and increase resilience, the Cryosphere and Climate Change Research Group of the University of Aberdeen has been working in collaboration with colleagues from Indian universities as well as locals in the Ladakh region on the Ice Stupa project.
This winter we have roughly storage 2.5 million liters of water, And in summer this water directly goes to the stream water, and which used by 400 families down in the Phyang Valley.
Once those natural glaciers are gone, these kind of interventions or techniques, they are also not going to work anymore. So a bigger picture is that we have to kind of study the effect of climate change on natural glaciers and how we can mitigate them and how we can prolong the life of our natural glaciers.
I am in Tarchit village, one of the most beautiful ever villages in Ladakh, I think. It's high up where I am, roughly 4,000 meters. The people here made this wonderful Ice Stupa, which was one of the tallest in Ladakh at 120 feet. Now it is mid-June already, actually right middle of June, and it has half melted. Still it is some 80 feet tall, and this village is very, very, very special for a visit, whether you are from Ladakh, the rest of India, or from anywhere in the world. Beautiful mountain valley with some 30 beautiful families with very welcoming people, and the surroundings are all these granite monolithic rocks full of rock formations that have mystical, spiritual connections, as people here believe. Lots of stories all around, caves for meditation, and fields green with peas, barley, vegetables. And then this is one village where it's so high up there that only barley grows. And down in the village, some 500 meters of height difference, the lower part of the village grows wheat and even apricots, which is something that only grows in lower Ladakh. I'm amazed what a variety of things that this village has to offer. About the courage and spirit that groups in different villages have shown to make their own glaciers, however small or big, rather than sitting hand on hand against this challenge of climate change. We'll also be spreading a message from here to the world so that their lifestyle can make it easier for us in the mountains. I'm here with children from all over Ladakh. We are here to give you a message to the world and to start a movement to live simply. Because of the lifestyles, the complicated lifestyles of the people in the world, we in the mountains are affected heavily by climate change. We have flash floods followed by droughts, and the measures we take to conserve water or make artificial glaciers do not take us anywhere unless you in the big cities change your lifestyles. So today we appeal to you to please pledge to change your lifestyles and make it simple so that we in the mountains can simply live. As Gandhi said, live simply so that others may simply live. We want to appeal to you that you have to adopt measures that are not harmful for others. Please live simply,
so we may simply live.
And as we greet and bid farewell in Ladakh, we say Jule. Jule!